For 2 lines from the bottom. We're talking about oil and kalim. Oil, as we said many times, is a direct connect to the Shoresh Mokir. It's totally Shoresh Mokir dependent and reflective of. Kalim, Sheresh HaKalim is from the Rishima, as you said, which is Sheresh Koyach HaGvul. The Rishima we discussed the other day, I think quite clearly. Rishima means there is a reshim, a trace of the real thing. The real thing is there is everything b'pshitus. When the real thing, so the atzmos is concealed, the content and the richness is still there, but the atzm is concealed, and that provides for the kelim, for the sheresh kei hagvul.
Can you explain that again? Seems to be the connecting pshitus with kalim.
No, pshitus is the way it is before the tzimtzum. Why kalim? Kalim is when it comes after the tzimtzum, but there is not the etzem, and what they have is the content. We gave all kinds of misholim for this. If the host is absent, you still have all the food.
The word richness applies to which situation? Did you use the word richness?
Richness is used when you don't have the etzem. You know, what is he own? What does he contain? What does he have? When you have him, you don't talk in terms of what he has.
So this richness is applied to kalim.
Right. Service of the kalim. How great is this melech? So when you're in presence of the melech, you can't even begin to surmise how great he is. That question doesn't even apply, because it's not mentioned in terms of greatness. It's the reality itself. When he is not there, and you start judging it from an external perspective, how many lands does he have? How many people are in his rule?
This we call richness.
Yeah. Just as we said, the difference between a melech and a wealthy man. Wealthy man may have as much money as the melech, maybe even more. There is a history of European rulers that they borrowed money from Rothschilds. The Rothschilds supported their war effort, and yet they were kings, and the Rothschilds were business people. So when the king is absent, so then you have the wealth that he possesses. You don't have the real thing. And that's when, this is what's called Rishimu, this is like a trace of the greatness. And there, things begin to express themselves in Gvul, in a definitive manner.
Now, the word greatness now you're using, the trace of the greatness is comparable to the trace of Etzem?
Yes, but it's only a trace of it.
But it's a great. But you're applying to the Etzem as greatness. We use the word greatness to apply to Kalim.
Yes, because Etzem is not measurable in greatness. All right. Why does the king have a lot of wealth? One word answer.
Well, because everybody's paying taxes.
No. That's not the answer. That's how he gets wealth. But why does he have the wealth?
Oh, why?
Yeah, that's what I asked. Why?
I didn't hear it.
No geniuses. One word answer. Steve,
Yes, I'm thinking.
you're thinking, okay, along with everybody else.
Yeah.
Dominion?
Hmm?
Dominion?
What else? Why does he have dominion? Because he is king. Everything else is secondary to that principle, to that reality. This is what's called an etzem. And this is what we refer to, his revelation, his presence, we refer by oir. Why do we refer to the sunlight as oir rather than energy? Heat. You know why? We discussed this many times. The Torah knew very well what the sun is made of. Yet it's not referred to as enormous amount of energy. Moir. And we pointed it out throughout the years. If the sun consisted of an energy and combustion, if that is what the sun stood for, then it should be demonstrating that the energy is being used. And if you're using energy, eventually you have to deplete it. How long can you drive on a full tank? drive 1 yard on a full tank, it's no longer a full tank.
But this is selfish.
No, 1 second. That's what Chassidus described the sun as etzem behiri. And etzem means that its light is not being created by any kind of a process, any kind of combustion. Like we said many times, the Rebbe created light the first day of creation. There was not a sun at that time. This light is not energy dependent, clearly. Not combustion dependent. It was light. He was the element of light. Because that is so unnatural, so completely defying the structure of the natural world. So this had to be concealed. But it wasn't concealed totally, the light element. The manner by which this light shows itself was concealed. But then it was imbued, it was invested in the sun. Well, now you can say, oh, the sun has this light because of its enormous amount of energy and heat and combustion. But this is only a camouflage of the real thing. Why is it only a camouflage of the real thing? Because if this is all there was, there would be only light, not daylight. Light means that it has a source, and it comes from the direction of that source, and then it travels in that same direction. Daylight has no direction. It's absorbing the entire reality. Like we said, that's why Yom, daylight, the Rebbe transferred the word, he changed the name of oil to day. Because this oil at that point had the qualities of day rather than oil. And that is what was invested in the sun. This is not even Chassidus, the Ramban in the Chumash says that. It was concealed in the sun. What kind of concealment is it if it's still there, the same thing? The answer is, it's concealed in terms of its source. Because if we had daylight without any kind of a physical source, it's completely defined the Mitzvah of the world. The Mitzvah of the world is a world of creation which is dark. And all of a sudden it's daylight. It's daylight because God created this daylight. Just as God created the sun and the earth and the sky, He created daylight. Sometimes we'll talk about the phenomenon of daylight. We already spoke about it many times. I see that we still. Anyway, we have put a finger on the principle of the etzem. Like we said many times, the sun generates light not because it generates light, but because the sun is etzem behiri. In its presence, Everything is Behiri. Our closest moshel for this is the human home. You may have a home of 15 rooms and 3 stories. And his presence is all over. How is that? There are walls between the rooms. How does his presence permeate these walls? This is the pshat, the meaning of etzem, a God-given reality. Which is not a natural phenomenon. In the natural world, you cannot explain it, understand it. As a matter of fact, it's completely misinterpreted, reinterpreted. Ownership in the natural world is an agreement, a conscious, a civil agreement. And ownership does not extend itself any further than the people who agree to that. The Torah says ownership is provided by the Creator of the world. He is the one who guarantees your ownership. He is the one who gives you the right to own. Yes, it can be usurped, there's Gneva, Gzeil, and all that, but it's still yours. This is the meaning of an etzem. An etzem has oir, which means that his presence is felt without him touching it, without him proclaiming it, his presence. Am I coming through a little bit?
And we're bringing this because of Akiva's question? Or
Akiva's question, yes, because Akiva's question, because Akiva's question is central to what we're discussing. Oiris and Kalim. Yes, no?
I'm getting oriented.
Huh?
I'm still finding getting oriented.
Again, we got into this core principle on account of a question, and the question was, did you start on this?
It seemed to be using, Rabbi Paltiel seemed to be applying the word greatness both to Etzem and to Kalim.
Okay, thanks.
But within Etzem, you can't really talk about the point. In Etzem, you can talk about greatness, but it's not a worldly greatness. What is the point? I don't know. What is the answer to that question?
The greatness, when you talk about greatness of an etzem, you're talking about hitzoinus of the etzem, the effect of the presence of the etzem, not the etzem itself. The etzem itself is not measurable in terms of greatness. It's a complete misunderstanding, misdirection of terms. How wealthy is the king? That's what he asked before. How wealthy is this man? Perfectly correct question.
Mm.
The Friedrich Rebbe speaks about the American expression, what's he worth? He says that under the circumstances where wealth and all has become central in people's mind, you lose sight of the human being, of the etzem. And you translate his presence in terms of how much money he has, and you attribute it to his worth. That's a mistake. Because a human being is not measurable in his worth. Worth is how much money is a worldly terms.
So the answer is, when we're talking about greatness, we're not attributing it. It's only applying to the Kaling.
Right. But here's the thing to understand. Why is there wealth? A melech does have wealth. That's what I said before. Why is there wealth by a melech?
Because the king has wealth.
Because he's a king. And the king has everything. And the term of wealth is not even a proper definition what he has. This is taking a term from the business world and applying it to the king. This is why, when the king is absent, so the atom is something in the Helen, there remains a rishima. What is the rishima? The rishima is of all the wealth of the king, which is unlimited, but it's only a ration of the real thing.
So it's like.
So when we say the king is great or Kel Melech Gadol, this godless, this greatness is just to how exalted he is.
That's right.
Not no attribute.
Not to himself. Right? Gadol means Gadol is chesed. Ki hagadol hagibur anira is called chesed and gvura and tiferes.
These are all terms of our world. Of
how he manifests himself to us.
Right, but in a sense, all those attributes are misnomers because, like we're saying here, essence is beyond any gather, right?
Right. And this is why we are enjoined against speaking of God the terms other than is mentioned in the Torah. Because if you start saying I'm going to describe the Mevishim himself, that's blasphemy. That's assuming that you have access to that knowledge. There's no access to that knowledge. What do you know? And how he manifests, he allowed you said to you to know. How he manifests himself.
Oiris are the presence of the Etzem.
Right.
Oiris can be referred to as in the realm of greatness.
Referring to Oiris and realm of greatness is by taking a keli to the Oir.
So Oiris unto themselves is not applied in.
Does not apply to greatness.
And the Rishima is
Rishima, this is the Shorish HaKelim. This is where Koyach HaGvul, the Rinyan from Kelim, is sourced in.
The word greatness in the Rishima does this fit in?
Yes. But I hope you understand the context of this. We cannot surmise that greatness.
You say that a usage of that was an example, or that is in fact what it is. You cannot surmise. When you speak about Rishima, you cannot surmise the greatness that the Rishima represents.
You cannot define Rishima as greatness, because you cannot surmise its greatness. It's infinite greatness. Is that greatness?
That's what the Rishima represents the oros of.
No, Rishima represents
the
Helam of the Etzem. The Rishima represents when the host excuses himself and lets you partake of all the larges in his home.
But the larges are only a hinting to what the host is. In other words, it's only all the larges does not. That's how we can relate to it.
No, can relate to Etzem through larges, and Etzem is only when he's present. He absents himself. You always understood. We're missing the whole thing, the real thing. But you have all the greatness that I gave you.
Others point to Etzem. Rishima points to what? Or does it point?
To the absence of the Etzem.
So the emphasis of the Rishima was you have everything but the Etzem.
Right.
You're lacking the Etzem. That's the.
That's right. It points to the fact that there was an Etzem over here, but now it's absent. That's not going to work. You have to give up.
Yeah?
We have to run through a certain point. Okay, let me just give you. Do we hear what we're talking about?
Once upon a time, when we learned about the Rishima, it seemed that the Rebbe was telling us that it has more of an essence quality than even the oros do.
Yes, but then? Yeah, but you have to remember the whole context.
Okay.
The oros are there only when the Etzem is Begilui. The Rishima is there even when the Etzem is Behelam.
The Rishima is there when the Etzem is Behelam. But that's not the Etzem itself. What is this that's there?
Okay, all right, that's it.
Okay.
Even when it's Behelam, we are not going to define Etzem. See, this is a whole error. there are things that lend themselves to definition, things that are beyond definition. Only that which is created, which has an origin, can be defined. This has no origin. Like the Rambam says, Motzui Rishain. We emphasize on that many times.
Two beings, how many beings?
What?
Two beings, how many beings?
Yeah, this is.